Yo, we're live. Oh man, what is up, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome to All Access. Good to see those of you just coming over from pre-market prep. This is the first All Access I've done in a hot second. So exciting to be back in the saddle. Today's a special edition of All Access. We're doing an Earth Day themed show. In honor of Earth Day, which is, of course, the day where everybody, pays homage to this rock that we're all stuck on together. We have gathered 4 ESG focused companies to come on the show today, and we're going to just talk to them, right? If you've never seen this show, you don't know what All Access is. I'll explain it to you. It's a pretty straightforward concept, right? The thinking was this. At Benzinga, we do a lot of shows, we do a lot of interviews with a lot of companies, and a lot of them are a lot of those conversations are focused on the stock market, right, or a company's stock, right, or the short term. And what we thought we don't do enough of is more like evergreen style content, conversations that are not about the stock, conversations that are more about the business, right? Or the sandbox that a company plays in. That's the point of this show, right? Like I said, I've got 4 guests on today, and each of them is going to be on for about 20 or so minutes. And we're going to talk to them. These are executives, these are CEOs, these are founders about their company, about their business, why it needs to exist, what's working for them, what's not working for them. And that's what we're going to do. So I've got a whole list of notes here on my end, but we also want interaction from you, the viewer. If you have any questions for any of these companies, don't hesitate. Drop them in the chat. I will allocate time at the end of every segment to ask questions from the chat if you have it. All right. That being said, let's roll our intro and get the show on the road here. Alrighty, before I bring on our first guest, let me first remind everyone that the sort of the lay of the land of this show, okay? First things first, All Access is one of the ways that Benzinga monetizes its YouTube channel, okay? So all of the companies that are appearing on this show today have paid Benzinga to be here. That's an important disclaimer, and I want to get that out there. What they have not paid us for is specific knowledge of what I'm going to ask them, because frankly, it's not my style to write out questions ahead of time. I have you should see what I've got. I've got notes, right? And that's about it. I've got bullet points. I don't have questions. I don't even know what I'm going to ask them, frankly, until it comes out of my mouth. So while the companies have paid Benzinga, they don't know what I'm going to ask them. They don't know what you're going to ask them, and that is by design. So just so everyone knows that's kind of how this show works. The other important thing I want to note is that this show has a sponsor. That sponsor is Ticker. Ticker with 2 I's. Tiicker. If you don't know what Ticker is, allow this video to explain it.
What is Ticker? That's right, Ticker with 2 I's, just like you. Because it's for you, for investing, for stock perks, for connecting you to public companies who reward you as a shareholder, as a brand lover. That's why people can't stop tickering. Ticker, where investors discover shareholder perks and consumers become investors in the brands they love. Ticker. Start tickering today.
All right, ticker.com/Benzinga. I'm going to put the link up on the screen right now. Go to that link. Okay, that link will take you to a sign up page. All right, create an account. connect that account to your broker. And when you do that, there's a checkbox. It'll say like, are you from Benzinga? Is that how you got here? And you say, yep, that's how I got here. And they will send you a $20 Amazon gift card once your ticker account has been connected to your brokers for 30 days. Oh wait, actually, I'm just reading here from a new note. There's no longer the checkbox, but if you go via that link, it will automatically know you're from Benzinga. So you don't even have to click anything. So just go to ticker.com, TIICKER.com/Benzinga, open an account with them, connect it to your brokerage, and after 30 days, Ticker will send you a $20 Amazon gift card, and you can start getting perks just for owning stocks. It's really that simple. Let's check in on the chat, see how we're doing here. What's up, everyone? What's up, Sean? Some hot dog, Eagle, Armando. How we doing here? TBC. There we go. Okay. Before I bring on our first guest, first of four, what other things do I always want to announce? Oh, yes. As always, it would help me a lot if you were to smash that like button. Yes, I can't go a show without groveling. I used to never grovel for likes, and then I got yelled at. So if you would be so kind and smash that like button, I would appreciate that very, very much. And hey, while you're there, maybe subscribe to Benzinga on YouTube, right? Well, if you haven't already, just click that little red subscribe button that's up there on the YouTube channel, and then that also helps us. So thank you very much to those likes and subscribers. All right, I've officially gotten all my housekeeping items out of the way. And without further ado, it is time to bring on our first guest, Marc Hazout, the CEO of Susglobal Energy. Let's get Marc on the show right now. Marc, good morning. Welcome to.
Good morning.
How are we doing today?
Good, Spencer. Great.
Let's just first start with an explainer. Susglobal Energy, what do you do?
Well, I think we should start, Spencer, with why we do what we do.
Okay. Why do we do what we do?
All right. So we divert organic landfill, organics from landfill in large volumes. The company has built infrastructure to be able to process these organic waste streams as part of the whole climate change initiative, obviously to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And then, of course, as part of our circular economy model, we take those organic waste streams and produce regenerative products, such as fertilizers. So the idea was to find a sustainable method of processing these organic waste streams and diverting them from landfill, because that is no longer a sustainable method of dealing with our organic waste. We've been doing it for hundreds of years, just landfilling it, and that's obviously no longer acceptable.
So you founded this company, what, like 2014, somewhere in that area?
That's
What happened in your life or career, or what need did you see that wasn't being met that you're like, I think I can fix this?
Well, when that's a great question. My boy at the time was about 5 years old, and we were looking at the future, the next several generations, and we're living now in a linear economy, which is basically use and discard. And I knew that was not sustainable, and we had to begin just thinking of the circular economy model. And I noticed that obviously, we have a green bin program where you separate the organic waste from recyclable waste such as plastics and so on. And that's called source separate organics. But then again, those organics were ending up in landfill, and that didn't make much sense. So we decided that, well, we're going to have to build infrastructure to divert those waste streams to processing plants. And, these are large volumes. This is municipal organic waste. And then, of course, once you process it, what do you do with it? And we just felt that, there are several regenerative products that we can produce, but now we're predominantly producing fertilizers because there's such a demand worldwide for fertilizers.
Let's start with the elephant in the room here, which is the global fertilizer market has seen a tectonic shift in the last couple of, we'll call it like a month and a half, not 2 months now. Can you talk about what is going on right now in fertilizer land as it pertains to the war in Ukraine?
Well, unfortunately, the conflict in Ukraine has created a significant, there's a supply chain problem. First of all, Russia and Belarus being the second and third largest potash producers after Nutrien here in Canada. So there's a supply chain problem. And this is, again, it was exacerbated by the pandemic itself. The pandemic alone caused a world, food supply and demand issues. So with now the supply chain on fertilizers, fertilizers are now at their highest level, and the fertilizer market is a $200 billion per annum market, and then there's now a subset to that market, which is the organic fertilizer market, and that's growing at a CAGR of over 11% to $20 billion because there's obviously a demand for more organic products and goods. So in our case, we don't have an issue with the supply chain because we have all our own feedstock, and we actually get paid to take in that feedstock. We get a tipping fee, so we have no issues in terms of the supply chain.
All right, that's good. That's good to hear for you. When I was going through your materials, Marc, I kept stumbling upon this term, the circular economy. Can you explain what that is?
Of course. So as I mentioned earlier, we're now living in a linear economy, which means, for centuries, we would use and basically discard, throw in landfills, not really recycle. But now we're entering, and we must enter into a circular economy, which means use, reuse, regenerate, etc. We were actually chosen by the Citra Fund. It's a Finnish fund, as being one of 39 global leaders in the at the Circular Economy Forum. We have a perfect circular economy model. We take in large volumes of municipal and industrial, commercial, organic waste, and we produce regenerative products, basically fertilizers. So it's an ideal model, circular economy model. And in addition, in terms of our revenue streams, as I mentioned earlier too, we have a tipping fee, so we get paid to take in the feedstock and these organic waste streams, diverting them from landfill. Second revenue stream, of course, is the sale of the products that we produce, the fertilizers. And the last revenue stream is the monetization of carbon credits, which is also an important part of the whole circular economy model. The carbon credits, because we audit exactly how many tons of organic waste is being diverted from the landfill. We have third-party auditors that actually audit and then sell our carbon credits in a voluntary market to emitters that are looking to offset their carbon emissions.
Right. Yeah, that market of course is widely used as a way for many companies, if they want to get carbon neutral, they can just simply buy carbon credits, and it offsets their emissions otherwise. Why organic fertilizer? Because the fertilizer market is the organic market is a small subset of the global fertilizer market. So why organic specifically?
Well, we're shifting to organic. Well, we sell to the entire market.
Okay.
It's a $200 billion market, but because of the demand for organic products, they must use organic fertilizers. They can't use chemicals. So, for example, whether it's organic blueberry farms, even cannabis. There's 50% of the demand for cannabis is for organic cannabis, and I personally didn't even realize that there was such thing as organic cannabis. But it means you have to use an organic fertilizer. You cannot use chemicals, and then of course organic fertilizer are very child friendly, pet friendly. We sell products to the wine industry. They find that they can go back into the vineyards and work right away rather than waiting a few days when you use chemicals. And pet friendly. We even have a product that's organic. It's an organic de-icer, and it helps. There's no salt in it, and which is good for pets. And then, of course, we have our golf line. Now, golf courses for greens and fairways are looking to move away from chemical fertilizers, looking at organic fertilizers, and including even our microbial products to clean up the ponds. So this is the way of the future. A lot of golf industry people are environmentalists, and they want to see us move away from chemical fertilizers. So that's why organic, and our products are organic. We don't use biosolids or manures. It's all from the food scrap sources in large volumes that we regenerate into either a dry compost or a proprietary liquid, organic, pathogen-free liquid fertilizer.
Yeah, I'm sure there's an image up on the screen right now of one of your products. Are there other examples of industries that I wouldn't have thought of that require fertilizer? You mentioned a few already: golf, wine, cannabis. Are there any more?
Well, you have just the agriculture is probably the largest. You have now organic blueberry farms. Any organic products that are being sold, use organic fertilizers, and the cannabis industry, as well as I mentioned, is also now using organic fertilizers. And because our fertilizer is also topical, that's a great method of applying the fertilizer.
One of the things that jumped out to me when I was again going through your materials and doing some research for today was you've done a lot of acquisitions in the last year or so, maybe a couple years. Can you just speak to that a little bit? What is your plan there?
So the first acquisition, which we announced several weeks ago, it was always our intention to have a roll-up strategy to buy more distribution for our products. So we produce a significant volume of fertilizers, which is great, but you have to make certain that you have a home for these. So we knew that the idea was to go from not B2B to B2C. And so we have announced one acquisition, and we're announcing two more this year once we uplist to the NASDAQ. It's they're conditional upon effective registration statement and uplisting to the NASDAQ.
And since you brought it up, is there anything you can say with regards to that NASDAQ uplist as far as a timeline? I know it's out of your control, but that's typically a question that people have.
Of course. Well, everyone will know that we filed an S1 registration statement in January, and now filing the amended S1 because we just filed our year-end 10K. So once that registration statement is filed, then we wait to go effective. Once we go effective, we have a registered offering, and our underwriters, we disclose the fact that we're raising $13.8 million. And of course, the use of proceeds is part of the working capital and the development of our Hamilton facility.
What are the biggest headwinds that you're fighting right now?
Well, it's probably just time. We're trying to time is such a precious commodity. We're trying to get the second facility online to begin processing, because with two facilities, the municipalities will allow us to bid on larger contracts. That was always a challenge as a development's early stage. If you just have one facility, municipalities are a bit concerned you don't have the redundancy, meaning if something happens at that facility, you can't just turn away municipal, garbage trucks. So now with the second facility, if that were to happen, we'd send it to the second and vice versa. So that's really it's going to make a big difference in terms of the redundancy for us. And it's also part of our whole regional model, right? To have two facilities in the eastern and western part of a state or a province within about 200 miles, which reduces the carbon footprint of hauling trucks, which is important as part of the whole climate change initiative and reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
I'm wondering, as part of this uplist process, or if at any point in the last couple of years, as the ESG theme has mainstreamized, I just made up that word there, but mainstreamized a little bit more, have you seen any more attention from the public, the media, or investors at all, just due to your exposure to the industry in that way?
Of course, you have investors that are becoming more and more responsible investors, and socially responsible investors, and looking for sustainable solutions, etc. So yes, we've seen a lot of interest because we're basically an ESG driven company, and as we know, the regulators are going to be implementing all types of parameters in terms of the environmental social governance for companies. So yes, we've seen an increase in interest with regards to that, certainly from just retail investors.
What sort of regulations are going to help you?
Well, we because we're a carbon neutral company, we provide sustainable solutions. We're careful about the governance of the company and how we treat organic waste and so forth. I think that we're in a position to really be able to capitalize on the whole ESG regulatory aspect. So we're ready for that.
I promised at the top that I would take questions from the chat, so let's do that right now. If you have any questions for Marc Hazout, drop them in there. Here's one from Matthew Abel, I don't know what you want to be called. He's wondering how many tons you produce per year.
Well, for the composting, once the hauling trucks come in, they go to the tipping building, and from that point, it takes about 6 weeks to produce a compost. It goes through 4 weeks in our covered proprietary GORE system, and then 2 weeks outdoors in a windrow, which is part of the aerobic process. The oxygen mixes with the microbes, and then we filter it down. We have a final product. So we're producing compost basically on a bi-monthly basis, and then the liquid fertilizer will be producing 50,000 liters per day of that product. That's our proprietary pathogen-free organic liquid fertilizer known as Susglobal.
Meredith Hope wants to know what your revenue and profit looks like.
Well, this year we did over $1 million US. We're a fully reporting US issuer. But with the acquisitions this year, we'll have accretive over $35 million and our own organic revenue and sales, because now we're beginning to bag our compost. We were selling our compost to agriculture in bulk for $40 or $50 a ton. But now that we're bagging, and you showed the product, that's our Earth Journey compost product. We're selling 20 kilo bags for wholesaling for $10 per bag. So now it turns into $500 to $600 per ton, and that's a significant increase in revenue. And then of course, our second facility, the Hamilton facility, which is expected to begin processing in the third quarter of this year, the run rate beginning in 2023 is $100 million per annum.
I'm wondering what what the pricing looks like on your products compared to what is already out there.
So there are, for example, the liquid fertilizer. There are competitors who make liquid, organic liquid fertilizers. You know, they making them out of fish stock or other feedstocks. Generally, they retail for about $39 per liter. Some are more expensive. That's basically what our product would retail for, and we wholesale it for about $12 a liter. We like selling the 1,000-liter vats to agriculture because no bottles involved. When you sell the 1-liter bottle, the bottle actually costs more than the product. So selling in bulk to agriculture is really the higher margin product.
And as we wrap it up here, Marc, is there anything else that you think the public needs to know about Susglobal, about what's coming down the line here?
Well, I think what's really important is the market is not reflecting the true intrinsic value of the environmental compliance approval licenses that are attached to our real estate. We own these facilities. We own the first facility is a 49-acre facility with an environmental compliance approval license to process 120,000 metric tons per annum. The second facility has an environmental compliance license for 65,000 metric tons per annum. So that's a total of 185,000 metric tons per annum of organic waste processing capacity. When you look at a general municipality, is about 40 to 60 tons per annum. What's important, and the market needs to understand this, is once legislation passes that no more landfilling organic waste, when that ban is in place, our facilities will be processing at capacity, and the value there will be, the intrinsic value of those licenses will be extremely high because there's a barrier to entry. You can't just buy 49 acres adjacent to me and say you're going to open your own processing plant. So this is it. I think the market is beginning to realize this. And once the legislation kicks in, we're going to do quite well. And our first carbon credit monetization happens in the month of May. That's a significant announcement that we're looking forward to.
All right, we'll keep an eye out for that. Marc Hazout, the founder and the CEO of Susglobal Energy. Marc, great talking to you today. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you for joining All Access.
Thank you, Spencer.
All right, let's move this right along to our next guest here. I'm going to be joined now by John Yozamp, the CEO of XPON 360. Let's get John on this show right now. John, good morning. How are we doing today?
Hey, good morning, Spencer. How are you?
Doing fantastic. How's your Friday going?
Excellent. A little early here on the West Coast, of course, but
I appreciate the earlier eyes. So XPON 360, again, we're staying with the ESG theme here, but pivoting away from fertilizer. We're talking about lithium batteries. Explain to us the business.
Well, the business is, so we're heavily engaged in the secondary market, which would be secondary market. We consider everything outside of the EV market. So we're heavily engaged in recreational, off-grid, home energy storage, and industrial type of applications for lithium.
Okay. What specific markets though are you in?
Currently, we're heavily engaged in the recreational industry, RV and marine.
Right. That's what I was getting at. Right. We're talking RVs, we're talking boats, and why is that the focus?
Well, the focus is the reason that led us into the marketplace. My background, I used to own a very large solar manufacturing company, and I entered the space 6 years ago, knowing that lithium would be the next big play in the recreational industry. People are not focusing. So the big market for us is displacing lead acid batteries. So that's an old technology that's been around since 1860. And we feel the conversion rate will be 100% one day in this industry.
So, obviously people think lithium ion batteries, and maybe the first thing they think of is like an EV, like a car, right? But why do you think that technology hasn't spread as quickly to other forms of transportation?
Well, we're in the early adopter stages for that. We can thank probably Tesla for the lithium movement worldwide. So it's just really getting traction in the EV, and secondary to that would be vehicles, RV, marine, home energy, and so on. So it's just at the early adopter stages for that, but we can thank our EV. market for that.
Walk us through the actual technology here and why lithium batteries are the way to go. What makes them better?
Well, they're far superior in performance in comparison to lead acid. You have to remember lead acid's been around since 1860. It's an old technology. Lithium is lighter, more dense, better for the environment. Your real world application as far as performance in an RV is night and day difference in comparison to lead acid. It outperforms about 3 times, has about half the weight density that lead acid does. And of course, the cycle time is immense compared to lead acid. In our industry, you can expect to replace a battery every year to 2 years. We have a 12-year warranty, but we can expect those batteries to last 15 or 20 years.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. And like what other specs? Because you know, I was reading up on batteries, you know, before today. What other specs kind of separate out the lithium from the traditional battery market?
As far as what do you mean by specifications?
Like as far as, you know, the ability to use to charging, for example, or the ability to you know, really use the battery to its full. Yeah, reuse. Thank you.
Yeah. So the charge acceptance of a lithium battery in comparison to lead acid is far superior. To give you a real world example, if you were out camping in a recreational vehicle, you could expect if you had dead batteries, it would take 24 to 36 hours to actually recharge your battery. With our lithium, you could recharge as fast as 1C, which would be 1 times its density. So if we had a 100 amp hour battery, we could recharge that in an hour, let's say, if we had a 100 amp charger. So the recovery time is immense with lithium in comparison to lead acid. So therefore, you get to use the battery. Dead batteries don't work real well in the recreational industry when everything on the backside of a recreational vehicle works off 12-volt batteries. Slides and refrigeration, heating systems, CO2 instruments, and so on.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that XPON 360 completed a recent IPO, successful IPO. What are the recurring questions that they're asking?
Really, you know, it's kind of funny. I'm glad you asked that. The biggest question that most investors ask were supply chain. They have supply chain issues.
So I bet.
We have redundancies in our supply chain. That is a big concern. We do a lot of business currently with overseas in Asia. So there's a big concern with that. We do have redundancies. That is a big focus moving forward for the company. We see onshoring here shortly. You can look at our S1 registration filing, and it does talk about onshoring. We are going to be onshoring this year. We have just secured another 32,000 square feet for U.S. stateside assembly. So that is happening right now. And we hope to one day completely go vertical with our supply chain and have a 100% U.S. based made product here in Redmond, Oregon.
I am just wondering how the global supply chain chaos has affected. Like, what is your answer to that question? I guess you kind of answered the question that the goal is to become vertically integrated down the line. But for today, for right now, how has the business been affected?
We had a little COVID hiccup, but other than that, we have redundancy built into our supply chain. Our COO is just a master of making sure he's managing our supply chain. So we haven't had any hiccups. The biggest thing is really the congestion of traffic down at the ports, but we've also solved that recently. And of course, the cost increase. It's amazing how much it costs to get a container in. But
okay, so on the cost front, I'm not so much interested in shipping costs because I think those are temporary. But raw material costs, very in flux right now. Across the board, not just your industry, not just lithium. I mean, frankly, any raw material, anyone, they're all doing some weird things. Can you speak to that? How that changes the equation for you, and how you are positioned to hedge against any fluctuations in that market?
Well, you know, it's something that it's outside of your control.
Yeah.
Our competitors have all faced it. We have faced it. The last year we held our pricing pretty strong. We just had a recent price increase, but unfortunately, you know, you have to do price increase. You have to be profitable. We want to maintain our margins. So unfortunately, it gets passed on to the consumer. But we're all in the same boat. All my competitors have had to raise their prices, and we're right there with them. I mean, that's just unfortunate. But
or you're all in the same RV. Who are your customers?
Customers. So we're a B2B company. I've had relationships in the industry for many, many years. We do a lot of business with dealer direct. We have wholesale distribution, and then we have a lot of large OEs. In the past, I've worked with big companies like Winnebago, Airstream. I actually put all their programs together on the solar side. So we have three very distinct markets that we sell to.
And what is demand like on the dealer side for these kind of for pivoting to ESG friendly batteries?
Well, the demand is really starting to elevate. So we're at the early adopter stage, but we can thank the EV movement. We have a lot of people that come into dealerships. We have a lot of OEs looking at lithium. Virtually almost every OE is looking at lithium and converting because of the technology is just superior to lead acid.
Can you compare the adoption of EVs in this space to the adoption of EVs in the car space? Because it really seems like it's only been it feels like in the last 2 years is when all the major OEMs, all the major automakers have really doubled and tripled down on EVs. But prior to that, it was Tesla and a handful of upstarts. So if let's just say, I'm just going to speculate, let's just say that like EV adoption in the auto industry is in like the 4th inning here. Where does that leave? What does that leave EV adoption in the recreational vehicle space?
Well, in the recreational space, using that analogy, we're just showing up to the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's early, but we have a lot of OEs are looking at it. There's a shortage currently with generators in the industry. So we're looking at displacing, first of all, generator use. So we're displacing the backside of an RV. So the backside of the RV is the heart of the recreational industry. That is the part that powers everything on the house side. It's not the drive side. So it's the power side. So our first focus in the marketplace in the recreational space, marine and RV, is to displace generator use. And we can currently do that. We can run air conditioning, microwaves, and so on with lithium technology in the batteries that we currently manufacture.
Just showing up to the game.
Just showing up to the game.
Just walking up.
Oh yeah, there's a massive opportunity, and that's the reason we chose this market, is to be a big player in the secondary market, not to be a small player in the EV market.
So I feel like we've already covered some of the macro challenges that you're facing, right? Raw materials, shipping, those are challenges that are relatively new in terms of their visibility, perhaps. I mean, raw materials, you're always at the mercy of that, but shipping was a non-issue prior to the pandemic. Outside of that, though, are there other challenges that are maybe unique to your company or unique to your industry that maybe don't get all the headlines that supply chain chaos and raw material costs get?
We don't have a lot of issues when it comes to that. I think really politically, that might be the biggest challenge that we have, because currently we source a lot of product, like most companies, from Asia or China, as long as that doesn't deteriorate to the point that we can't get supply chain. But like I said, we're trying to focus on going vertical with this company, and that would be controlling everything from the box manufacturing, injection molding, powder coating, and to actually making the cell stateside. That would be a big win for this company. So that's what we're focused on, moving this vertically across the supply chain so that we don't have to be beholden to other countries.
And then what, as far as tailwinds at your back, what are your expectations for the rate of adoption? Because it felt like, again, I keep bringing up cars because that's all I really have to compare it to. That's all I have to compare it to. But it felt like we were hearing about EVs for so long, and then nothing really changed until everything changed all at once, and all of a sudden
Right.
it was a domino effect, and bang, 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 every single automaker was saying, yeah, we're doing EVs, yeah, we're doing EVs. So what are your expectations maybe in the near, medium, and long term for that rate of adoption in the recreational vehicle space?
This is our thoughts on it, but there's buzz in the industry that the conversion rate to lithium on the house side of the recreational industry could be as high as 65 to 70% by 2025.
Wow.
But I suspect within
wait, where is it now? Sorry.
Well, there are no
okay
proven numbers on it, but I would guesstimate it's 1 to 2%. Right
okay.
now. So, and then within 10 years, I see a full conversion rate because it's just far superior, and it's actually less costly to have a lithium battery than lead acid because of the cycle time and the lifetime. And then at the end of its life cycle, you could repurpose our batteries, which is something we'll be focusing on also with some of our new technology that we're developing with Smart Talk. It'll actually send us data, keep track of data from each one of the batteries so that we could maybe possibly repurpose it for other applications at the end of its life cycle within a recreational vehicle. And the EV guys are also looking at that.
Explain that a little bit more. How does that work?
Well, it could repurpose, like, for instance, a great example would be if you buy a Tesla car and at its conception, it could go 400 miles, but then in 10 years, it's 200 miles. It's not good enough for the vehicle, but it's good enough for power equipment or maybe powered drills. That's the same thing that will happen in our market, is that, let's say in 12 years, it just doesn't quite power the RV like it should, but it could be repurposed into power tools, stationary power, backup power, stored energy for homes and different things like that. But you've got to be able to collect the data. So that's going to be key. So some of our new BMS technology we're working on currently is to track that data for future use, to understand for warranty purposes and so on, and recyclability.
I hadn't heard of that, but it is interesting, and I'm still hung up on a comment from before, which was said 100% rate of adoption by end of the decade. You said, or 10 years? Well,
yeah. Well,
2-year difference. So.
We like to refer to that as lead is dead. So that new technology, there's going to be a day that we're all driving electric vehicles. There's going to be a day that all the recreational vehicles are powered by lithium. That's just the way it is. It is superior. It's better for the environment. It's cheaper lifelong than it is through its cycle time than lead acid. So yeah, it's just that much of a game changer in the industry.
Are there any thoughts when it comes to expanding into other markets, or are you content to be the bigger fish in the smaller pond?
Well, the secondary market is pretty wide scoping. So no, we are going to. I know the recreational industry. That's my past and my passion. But we will be moving into industrial. A good example of some of the things that we'll be moving into in the future would be industrial applications. Material handling is a big one. A lot of people don't understand, but forklifts, everything that you can see around you right now is delivered by a pallet jack or a forklift. A forklift is just secondary to vehicles. And the conversion rate right now in the forklift industry is the electric vehicles are outpacing propane. Propane's going away. Then the natural progression from electric forklifts is conversion from lead acid forklifts to lithium.
Wow.
So that's a big, massive market that we're going to be looking at here in the future. And then home energy. Home energy was definitely reported in our filing in our S1. We have some really unique ideas that we can enter the market with that. So that would be on our book of business moving forward also.
Wow.
That's another big market that needs a lot of help.
I gotta say, the industrial usage, it's sort of it totally blows the doors open, right? Because you can think about all the random vehicles that are involved in the construction. I mean, but behind our office right now, they're building a massive skyscraper, right? And every day there's vehicles going in and out, right? It's a massive project, a 5-year long project, and the amount of vehicles involved in that is a lot. And so it's just one project, and you think about I don't know what the rate of EV adoption is, but you say it's higher for forklifts, higher than it is for the propane. So it hadn't occurred to me, but Yeah, I suppose industrial uses would sort of blow the doors off the use case here. I'll wrap it up here with the same question I asked our last guest, which was: is there anything else that you think the public needs to know, especially on the heels of the IPO? It's obviously a big event, a monumental event in the history of your company. But are there other things that you think the public needs to know about in the long term or even in the near term?
Well, no, just to reaffirm, we've got a great company. Our management team is second to none. We know how to execute and commercialize product. We've done that extremely well. We're just at the tip of the iceberg. This is a very exciting company, very exciting future for lithium, and the sky's the limit.
All right. John Yozamp is the CEO of XPON 360. John, waking up nice and early to join us today on All Access. I appreciate that. John, have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, thanks, Spencer.
All righty. All right. Let's move this right along here. Actually, you know what? I think we are halfway done. Yes. That's 2 down, 2 to go. So seeing as how we're at the halfway mark, let me grovel one more time. If you haven't already, just drop me a like. I would appreciate that. The reason I do that is because for whatever reason, YouTube has decided that videos that get more likes or have a good like to viewership ratio will get recommended in the algorithm, and then more people will see us and more people will see the show, and that benefits everyone. So if you haven't already, drop us a like. I'd appreciate that. Let's bring on our third guest of the day. Again, sticking with that ESG theme, pivoting first from fertilizer, then to batteries, now over to food. We're talking to BlueStar Foods and their CEO, John Keeler. Let's get him on the show right now. John, good morning.
Good morning, Spencer.
Is your Friday off to a good start, I hope?
Absolutely. Great. Indeed.
Great. All right. BlueStar is a little bit more of a consumer facing, a public facing, consumer facing company. I've seen BlueStar out in the wild, but for those that don't know what BlueStar does or what you are, explain yourself, John.
We are an ESG seafood company that actually has evolved from small scale fisheries to a food tech RAS, recirculatory aquaculture system supply chain seafood company. And that's pretty much in retrospect who we are today.
And what kind of seafood are we talking about?
We do crab meat products, soft shell crab, and still held salmon at this time.
What exactly makes BlueStar, ESG?
Well, you're touching a subject that I'm very passionate about. But if we'd like to double click on that, we actually define sustainability as the ability to meet our needs today without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. For many years, the ability to meet the demands has been affecting environmentally, this taking a tax, a toll environmental, that actually subsequently hurt social as well. And we actually funnel all of our activities in pretty much 3 main pillars: and the environmental and social and the governance side. On the environmental, we measured climate changes, our carbon emissions, our carbon footprint, the vulnerability that exists in our activities against the climate, the good and the bad and the ugly. And the natural resources, we look at the water stress, the biodiversity on the land use that we have, the raw material sources that we achieve. And then you jump into pollution and waste, which we have to look at what the toxic emissions and waste is all about, the packaging material that we use. As a matter of fact, we do have patents on certain packaging that we use that actually reduce CO2 emission by 60% versus the standard of the industry. And then what are the environmental opportunities? The clean technology that we can bring with the RAS technology that we have, green building, using solar panels, which is part of the renewable energy. And then if we jump into social, you have the human capital aspect of it. How is our labor management, the health and safety of our workers and the supply, chain labor standards, the stakeholders' positions that becomes a controversial sourcing with it. And you have also social opportunities, which are the access to communicate what our activities, the access to health cares to our employees, and the access to finance to our employees, and the nutrition and health, what they eat, how frequently they eat. And when it comes to governance, you have the board diversity that we actually employ today, the executive pay, the ownership structure that we have in the public company, the accounting principles that we apply, and the corporate behaviors. What are our ethics, acting competitiveness, and the corruption and the tax transparency that exist. So there are three main pillars that really encompassed all our activities in today's world.
I'm going to throw a video up here on the screen. While you talk, this is of one of your facilities. But can you speak a little bit about what the global market is like for blue crabs right now in terms of sustainability?
Blue crab in the global market is considered, in my view, as a destructible source. There's very few ways to measure on the private sector the impact that exists. We actually have done our part corporate-wise to measure the impact that we actually where we harvesting the crabs, given technology to trace the fishermen where they're actually cutting the crabs, where they are actually cutting the actual raw material, the live crabs, and looking into where are the most appropriate places to ascertain a positive harvest. Because same times you extract, you got to make sure you protect the bearing egg females. You do not take any juveniles, etc. In my years that I've been in the crab meat, for example, for the last 27 years, I have seen that it's just getting hotter and hotter to get the volume that is continuing to increase in demand. And I don't think it's only for crabs or other species as well, Spencer. Also, the yield of those crabs are getting smaller. And that's really not what we like to be doing to our environment. When it comes to soft shell crabs, there is a very opportunistic way of harvesting them and keeping through our technology throughout year round.
I want to pivot a little bit because part of your business is the blue crabs, and that's maybe the traditional part of your business. But you made an acquisition, like a year ago now? You acquired BC Aqua Farms. You acquired a salmon farming operation. Talk to us about that. I want to bring this up on the screen. Talk to us about salmon farming, and how that fits into the business, and sort of maybe give us the breakdown of how that stacks up against the crab.
Salmon farming. Well, there are your traditional salmon farming that everybody knows that is done in the wild in very huge open pen nets, which has been shown that it affects the environment, where there's a heavily use of antibiotics, a massive concentration of fish. Some of the fish escapes from their broken nets and mixed with the wild fish, and have created environmental negative effects to it. But is a necessity because the demand is still doubling, and is projected to continue that way until 2050. So far, the numbers shows in terms of seafood consumption. And the salmon farming that we actually have acquired technology is, in our way, the solution of these conventional aqua farms, conventional farmings in salmon. And it also brings a competitive advantage because it brings you a highly disruptive technology where you can actually grow salmon in tanks on land, fully controlled environment for that fish, no antibiotics at all, Spencer. Virtually, I have no environmental impact because we recirculate the water, and the waste is used in fertilizer as well. The land is efficiently used. and allow us to have a very optimal feeding strategy, where for every we like to be, for every kilo of fish meal, we get a kilo of grown of fish as well, or pound. And it's easy to grade the fish, because they're in control tanks, and when the market requires a certain amount of fish size, we have it, because as the fish grows, you transfer to tanks. So that's really what it encompassed, 1-to-1. And when you go ahead.
No, just in terms of the breakdown of your business, can you just give us maybe in terms of revenue, or like the salmon versus the crab?
Crab meat, soft shell crab products is probably approximately about 97%.
Okay.
The salmon is the smallest at this time. We're gonna exponentially grow that as we build more farms, Spencer.
So how will that revenue mix change? What will it be in 5 years, do you think?
Very good question. If I had the crystal ball, I said in 5 years will be 75%, 60%. It went from 65 to 75% crab and soft shell crab and other species, and 35% of the balance in salmon.
Got it. So still majority, crab is the majority of the business here. What is your distribution like in terms of stores, and like where can people find BlueStar products?
BlueStar is a well-established brand for the last 27 years. We do have a very well-established blue chip customers, such as Costco, Walt Disney, Restaurant Depot, Cisco, PFG. We supply all the Bonvoy groups, Walmart, to say the least, Kroger. They're pretty much everywhere that you have a center or plate where you have crab meat. Highly likely, when a day in, day out, we are one of the suppliers.
What is the taste profile, whether it's crab or salmon? There's a question in the chat about this, about the taste. Can you just talk about how it's different, maybe the blue crab compared to the wild caught, and then the salmon compared to wild caught salmon?
Well, I can only speak for myself.
Of course.
Crab meat, the crab meat has a sweet aftertaste.
Okay.
Live soft shell crab is the sweetest of them all. But at the end of the day, people put the old seasoning bay, they put the mustard base, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Wild salmon with our steelhead are relatively similar in my view in taste. Because the way I like to eat is blackened, so I think I pretty much kills any particular taste that it may come from either or. But I find that is a quite cleaner, wholesome taste that comes our farms versus the difference of taste that you get from different times of the year when you caught wild caught salmon, for example. It has to do with the ability of the wild caught salmon to eat, the effect of the water's contaminations based on temperatures. The hotter the temperature, those salmons will be affected more with the microorganism and so forth, and actually tend, in my view, affect the taste.
Look, you don't got to talk to me about that, all right? I went to college in the state of Maryland. They love their crabs in Old Bay, and so
All season Bay,
yes, crabs in Old Bay. Very few combos better than crabs in Old Bay.
Concurred.
I'm just. I want to double click for a second on just the environmental impacts here, and you mentioned it earlier just for a second there, but I want to go to the slide here from your investor presentation, which kind of speaks to the environmental challenges that the entire industry is facing. And I was hoping you could just elaborate more about how BlueStar is not contributing and also fighting this.
Good question. Let me double click on the problem that you see on the slides. We have been facing an increased world of seafood consumption, which is about 45 pounds per capita annually and expected to double in 2050. That's actually a huge threat for our food security. The environmental pollution is nonstop by harmful chemicals and waste dumped into our oceans every day. That is affecting the actual seafood that we eat, that is supplied, the health of that fish. So we're pretty much getting a unhealthy fish in our organisms, in our stomach. Also, each year, 11 million tons of plastic waste, Spencer, gets washed into our ocean. That is a 30 Empire State Buildings weight, threaten wild-caught and conventional ocean aquaculture, and it's expected that that volume by 2050 end up being 12 billion tons of total of plastic in the landfill or environmentally that actually sadly can end up washing into our oceans. There is a presence already of microplastic in some of the fish we harvest and eat today. And with the previous statistics that I just gave you, more fish harvest in the future will contain those microplastics. And just what I just told you, by 2050, if we don't act, but now the fish available will only serve 5% of the world population. That's really sad. So the solution is doing the following: is measured how do you affect the environment through our fishing activities, driven more technology-based, land-based farming, not only for salmon as we do it, also now with soft-shell crab with a new acquisition, Spencer, but also look at other species, okay, that allow us to be a multi-species RAS technology or recirculatory aquaculture system technology where we grow fish on land. And then with that allows with our previously mentioned highly disruptive technology, where we can actually measure that the effect of the environment is near zero from our ability to grow fish. It shouldn't affect. Growing fish should not affect negatively the environment. Why the environment have to pay for it is insane. And at the same time, other industries that are affecting the environment, why the fish that are in the environment is to pay for that as well. The issue is that if we don't see it, we don't feel it. Since
It's true.
we can barely hold our breath for 30 seconds under the water, that's how much we can really see and feel.
So obviously this is near and dear to your heart, but from the business side of things, all of these cares and the fact that you're going out of your way that to not harm the environment, it certainly must be costlier, no?
It is costly in terms of capex. Again, I don't think the right way is to produce fish at the lowest possible capital expenditure, because it shows that the lowest possible capital expenditure that is being done in conventional aquaculture is actually affecting very much so the environment. So let's look at really what we need to get in return. In return is that we need to feed the world at the least cost to the environment possible, and just invest in those technologies that it gets paid over time. Simple as that. And allow us to, and then as a seafood company, we're proficient to understand which fish will give us the ROI faster than others, and focusing on that particular fish. And most of the fish is also geographically demand. I mean, salmon, yeah, it's a standard. It's pretty much a $23 billion industry. But if you take, for example, Campeche is actually in certain times of the United States and North America. If you take grouper, you don't have that much grouper in Boston. That's mostly pog or haddock or cod. So it's usually very, very, very geographically concentrated. And so long we put those farms and grow fish in those areas, we'll be able to ascertain supply chain that does not affect the environment at a regional level, that also allows to save CO2 emissions when it comes to transportation as well. Okay, simple as that.
Quick question here before we wrap from the chat from Born to Be Free. Wants to know what you do with the waste from your salmon farms.
The waste is given to farmers for fertilizer.
Very simple answer. All right, simple question, simple answer. John Keeler, the CEO of BlueStar Foods, I'll wrap it up with the same question that I like to wrap up with, which is just like what is next? Anything we need to know? What is next for BlueStar?
What is next for BlueStar? Well, we're definitely gonna be now expanding our pilot, both RAS in salmon as well as in softshell crab. We are actively on M&A pursuit on companies that have a competitive advantage in a particular species of seafood that we can apply our RAS technology to enhance their supply chain and assure food security. Also take the look into our, why BlueStar, why invest in BlueStar. So the highlights are, listen, we're a very well blue chip customer base. There's a huge valuation gap between us and the competitors. We're in the bottom of the barrel comparing to the competitors instead of in lieu of what their market cap and their revenue they bring and their single sourcing species. There's an undiscovered opportunity, Spencer, on the rapidly growing food supply chain. And the seafood demand will continue to increase, and we're just growing to try to catch up. So it's not growing to see where we're going to sell it. Our technology is highly scalable and modular, and giving you an ability of a public listed company, give you all the transparency that exists to show all the activities that we do. What's the end of it? We're done with the transformational year 2021. 2022 is about revenue, expanding and scale, and show that our plan works, and also be on the lookout for another M&As on the horizon.
All right, John Keeler, CEO of BlueStar Foods. John, thanks for joining All Access today, and have a great rest of your day. Good luck.
Thank you, Spencer. Have a great day too.
All righty. All right. Before I bring on our next guest, I want to address the question from Jay. What is that? Jay Hofflinger in the chat. Jay Hofflinger, live trading with Mitch Ryan Junaid airs Monday through Thursday. On rare occasions, we do it on Friday, but we'll typically reserve this slot on Fridays for All Access. So they'll be back on Monday. But if I can give you a little bit of a tease for next week, I will be on the show because Mitch is he's doing this. He's getting married or something. I don't know. He decided to take a week off to go get married or whatever. So I'll be on live trading Monday. Me, Ryan Junaid, Monday after pre-market prep. Let's bring on our last guest of the day here on this ESG themed All Access. Dennis Calvert, old friend of the show, president and CEO of BioLargo. I see him here now. Dennis, good morning. How are we doing?
Hey, Spencer. How you doing, bud?
Doing fantastic. All right. I never want to assume that people watching know anything, frankly. So even though you were on the show 3 months ago, give us the recap. What does BioLargo do?
Great. I'll do it. BioLargo is really focused on sustainable solutions and innovations focused on clean air, clean water, a cleaner earth. And so when you peel the onion, you look at BioLargo, there's a whole series of technologies and catalysts with channel partners that are driving enhanced sales and revenue growth. So it's a very exciting time. And we always say, we look out to the world at some of the biggest problems that face the planet, and we say, how can we help? And we start there. And as a result of that sort of high purpose focus, we're able to sustain ourselves for an incredibly long time. The opportunities are almost endless. And right now there's some things going on in the world that are really catastrophic. And we're focused on some of those big challenges like PFAS that we think is just an enormous winner opportunity for us. So, and we've got existing revenue base. Revenues are growing. So it's a great little company that's going to be a big one. So we want everybody to take a look.
And then for people that don't know what PFAS is, what is PFAS?
Yeah, so these are called forever chemicals, right? So these were chemicals that are fluorine compounds. They were used in nonstick coatings for about 35 years. And as a result, because they're made to last forever, that's what they do. They last forever. And so as a result, a little bit of contamination every day for 35 years, that turns out to be a big problem. And so it turns out PFAS is all over the world. It's in the water streams, it's in soil. A lot of it was used in things like cosmetics and food packaging, and it's just astounding. And so now that the sort of the gig is up, right? Everybody now understands that these things have a problem. They've been linked to adverse health effects like birth defects and cancer. Litigation's going on with the producers of these chemicals all over the world, and it's a real hot button in the environmental space as a cleanup target. And so it just so happens that we have a professional engineering group that's quite accomplished, 20 and 30-year careers. And we started about 2.5 years ago to come up with a solution that we thought would be a great opportunity for the market. That's just about to come to market. We're working with the federal government. We're working with major municipal clients, industrial clients. And what's amazing about it is how big it is. You know, we thought when we started, we'd be in these, $250,000, $500,000 little projects. Well, it turns out they're more like $5 and $10 million a year for 20 years. I mean, these are major problems. and when they get attention of the regulator, the regulators come in and mandate cleanup. And so we're in the center of a hot storm that's really brewing, and it represents a significant expansion opportunity for the company. We referenced in our 10K just a couple of weeks ago that we've got 2 strategic channel partner negotiations in place to go after specific segments of that market. And we think it will expand, right? Because it really touches a whole number of different markets. Like there's groups that are expert in dealing with municipal airports and military bases for remediation. That's a whole segment. There's a big opportunity in mining. A lot of mining operations have significant PFAS concentrations. Municipal drinking water is probably one of the crown jewels, but it's also one of the most difficult because of the scale. These are massive scale, 3,000 and 4,000 gallons a minute type of devices. Anyway, we believe, and we're preparing to go commercial. Our AEC is a remarkable innovation by our engineering group, highly efficient, and basically we're the most excellent collector. Our thesis is if you can collect it and control it, get it out of the environment, then you can deal with, what are you going to do with it? Where are you going to destroy it? Are you going to store it in the landfill? What's the plan? And we're also advancing science in the destruction phase as well. But really, our entry into the marketplace is to be in line with the regulatory scheme, to be the concentrator, to create efficiencies. And our value proposition is really pretty simple. We concentrate it so well that our footprint for the disposal is 1/1000th of the competition. So that idea of super concentrating and extracting, we think, has an enormous value proposition. So, long answer.
Yeah, you laid out a couple of use cases there, right? Military bases, etc. But the projects that you cited earlier in the answer that were like $5-10 million projects, who are those typically with?
That's a good question. So if you think about it, it's like a super fund remediation, right? So imagine you're out in the marketplace and you come across a mining operation or a landfill, right? These are massive installations with lots of contamination. That PFAS is a real booger, right? Sometimes, the way I like to think about it is, I sit with leading engineers with these operations. They're professionals, they're super smart. And I say, how long is it going to take to get that out of there? And they said, well, it took 30 years to get there. It might take 30 years to get out. I mean, this is a real problem. It's going to go on for decades. And especially if it's in a water well. Imagine in a groundwater, these aquifers store the water, right? And especially in places where water is so precious, like California, where our headquarters is, this PFAS has seeped in, right? It's seeped in from industrial waste. It migrates with the water. It sets up a plume, and it concentrates. Okay, so if it's in the water table under the earth, it's going to take a long time to get out of there. And so what they do is they pump and treat as they use the water, because you certainly don't want to give PFAS-laden drinking water to your citizens, right? That's not going to work. So major money, major lawsuits, big projects. And, not only do we have a great technical solution, but I want to point out our engineers with 20 and 30 years, we're so fortunate to have this great team. But they have worked in major projects all around the globe with some of the largest engineering firms in the world as technical leaders. And they joined our company as owners, shareholders, profit sharing team under the umbrella of BioLargo. And so when we present ourselves to the marketplace, we have innovation, we've got an entrepreneur spirit, we love our customers, and we got guys, a team of people with 20 and 30 years field experience that can do just about anything. I mean, it's incredible. So as a result of that, those combinations, we're winning accounts that are surprising people. We just did an announcement, I think it was yesterday, the day before. We just won a contract award for a waste energy conversion project. And it's about a 4-year project. We've been selected as owner's engineer, which basically means like a general contractor, right? We're essentially going to be a general contractor to do this build. That project is expected to exceed $500 million in total. I mean, it's an amazing project, and we were selected as a lead to organize all the tools that make that feasible, right? So it starts with feasibility, then it goes into design and preliminary design. So when you think about that, the first 2 years total spend by the client, which is a finance group, who essentially is the owner, right? They're going to invest probably about $50 million over the first 2 years. Then they build it. And once you build it, you're talking about another $400 to $500 million. Okay, so this is big business. So what's amazing for us is that we have such a diversity of technologies and skill that we have, 3 and 4 and 5 revenue sources that are all stacking up at the same time. And as we like to say, we're moving up the food chain pretty quick. We used to, I can remember we were so hungry for a $50,000 order. And they're getting bigger, and they're getting bigger faster, which is really exciting. So,
I want to move on from AEC here because that's not the only part of your business.
right.
If there is a part of the business that people may have heard of, it's this guy.
Yeah,
Poof,
is great,
right?
This is such a great.
Yeah. Explain
story. Well, so in our portfolio, we have this chemistry set that we developed that started really over 10 years. It's more than that. It's at the inception of the company. And it creates an opportunity for derivatives, right? Derivative product designs. And Poof is one of those. So this is an odor control product that's now being marketed and merchandised all over the world by a team of people in a strategic partnership with Ikigai. That, as you see on that film, that's Jordan Stanley. So Jordan's team has launched billions of dollars worth of products. I mean, it's amazing. They selected our chemistry under a white label deal as a foundation to launch an enterprise called Ikigai. And it's their first product in which they're not only doing the marketing and the launching and the creative that makes it drive it, but they're financing it. So we secured a supply chain agreement where we're manufacturing. We also get a royalty on sales as a technology provider. Okay. And then we've bargained to participate in the eventual sale of the product and their company at 20% of the equity. Well, so they're blowing it out. I mean, it's astonishing. And please, everybody, go look at the commercial, the infomercial, and it's airing now on major networks. We just got the word that they were about to launch, and I believe it's launched on Times Square Jumbotron. And so this is a big brand, big retail play designed to grab as much market share as possible, as fast as possible, leveraging our technology that we've got, 10 and 15 years of development work in that we're using in the commercial side for industrial side to help make communities cleaner and fresher, at major industrial installations. So this is a perfect extension of our hard work, learning, refining, perfecting, that makes us capable of now becoming a supply chain partner for someone that has such a big vision like Ikigai does. So we think it's just remarkable, and they're so talented. Where do you see it? They've got such a wonderful talent of telling a true story and driving action by a consumer. So we're proud of this deal.
Yeah. So I believe that that product proof it's in stores now, or or at the very least imminently. And to be clear, this
Yes,
is
and yeah, the way to say
Yeah.
it is, it's moving so fast. So at any given moment, things are happening pretty quick. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, they've got retail channels lined up, and they've got big retail channels coming, the big ones. And so, and we're not at liberty to speak about the names, but imagine who the biggest in the world are. Now, we believe you're going to see poof there pretty soon.
So this is a retail product in stores that is based on your IP.
Yeah,
So
and our IP and our manufacturing. We're
Yeah.
manufacturing the product for them, and so that's good. If you think about that, that's a really nice win-win, right? It's a nice win. We get to participate in the growth, and we love the product and we love our partner. So what happens is they're extraordinarily talented in what they do, but because we've got such a significant learning curve behind us, we can present our lessons of success and failure to allow them to leverage the best that we can bring to the table and do it in the most excellent way. So it goes fast. I mean, that's the point. It goes really fast.
And then the last major part of the business is the Garrett Callahan, the wastewater equipment partnership.
Yeah, so this is again such a compliment to our team. Okay, people say, "What's your product? What's your product?" I'm like, it's more than a product. It's a team of most excellent talent, right? Science and engineering, extraordinarily experienced and smart. Bunch of smart. Listen, I always say I'm the least smart guy in the deal. I sit around. I go, these people know what to do. So we were chosen by Garrett Callahan to partner on the design and the build of a system that's focused on what they call minimum liquid discharge, basically taking small amounts of waste and using the water to the optimized perspective for recycle, right? So that's minimum liquid discharge. So there's also zero liquid discharge, which means no water is lost. We're involved in both. So Garrett Callahan's the largest privately held water company in North America, 107 years or something history, extraordinary talent, knowledge, incredible reputation. And so the idea of partnering with us, right? Why would you partner with BioLargo? Well, we have some real skill. We came to them and said, we can be a supply chain partner. We'll help develop this asset. We'll take it through the paces because that's what we do. We know how to do that, and we'll support your customers, right? But again, all of these relationships point to a strategy, and I really want to emphasize it because the strategy is to partner your way to success. And we have innovation and knowledge that makes for a great partnership and a culture that serves, really. We serve our customer, we serve our partners, very little ego. We do the hard work, we take tough projects, we do things that other companies can't do, and we make them work. And so to be partnered with such a highly well-known, prestigious company like Garrett Callahan is such an honor. And so we're about to launch. So now they're forecasting something like 30 to 50 units once we get launched. And 30 to 50 units is probably in the $250,000 to $500,000 each. Okay, so they're forecasting something like $15 to $30 million in the next year. Now we just broke our revenue records for the quarter, so it was awesome. But I always, and again, I really mean it. I think to myself, we're proud but not satisfied. I mean, we've really just scratched the surface of our potential, and the way you see it, the potential of the future, is to look at these assets that keep stacking up and through partnerships. Now, these partnerships don't launch in a blink. They take time to mature, but they're already in place. Deals signed, relationships intact, assets going, launching imminent, distribution aligned. I mean, so we believe that we're demonstrating the early stages of what we believe will be, extraordinary exponential growth for the company.
So the partnerships with Garrett Callahan and Ikigai, those are the big ones. But are there any others that we should know about?
Yeah, sure. Well, so like this relationship that we just announced 2 days ago in South America, that's a project that in the first few years will represent something like $50 million in service revenues. That's all the design phase. And again, it goes in stages. You don't get it all at once. You have to earn your way. You have to deliver, right? It has to be good work to make it to the next stage. But we're being selected because the client believes that we'll be there at the end, at the party at the end of the dance, which is a 4-year project that will exceed $500 million. Okay, it's a big project. Now, So the reason that's interesting though is because the projects is cool, but the company we're working with is a channel partner. They got projects all over the world. They've got financing, they got real projects, they're significant. And what they're looking for is the talent, right? Somebody who actually knows how to take it from start to finish. And that's us. We know how to do that. And so it represents a significant, upscale move to a vertical strategy for the company as a complete solution provider, which we've been talking about for a long time. And then the other, let's see, we got Garrett Callahan, Icky guy, right? And we've got this project now developing there. We also have distributors coming in on some of our products, like industrial odor control on the international side. Again, representing a way for us to leverage our experience with the work and distribution and talent of our partners, where we become a supply chain partner, which we think is ultimately the best model, right? Because it creates leverage for margin, leverage for incremental cash flow without continued capital investment. Because we've spent a lot of money building up to get to where we're at. And most of that R&D is diminishing while our revenues are increasing. 2 of our operating divisions almost pushed a profit this last quarter. So that's a big deal. I mean, they were right on the edge. Like one more order would have been profitable. And so that's a good sign for the company. We've cleaned up the balance sheet and retired almost $7 million in debt. We have no toxic financing. We're in just such a great spot to now experience the prize of growth and heading towards profitability, really.
So then I want to wrap up with this. Any plans for an uplist anytime soon? BLGO is the ticker.
Yeah.
But any plans for an uplist?
Yeah, sure. And then, before I forget, we also have 2 partnerships in negotiation for PFAS. Don't forget that.
Okay.
Now, they're not done, so I want to be clear, but we believe some of them will get done, right? Or we would be talking about it. And the reason, so there's multiple partnerships. Now, uplisting. Yeah, the company deserves to be at a national exchange for sure. The inefficiency of the OTC sometimes is painful. And so we'd like to see ourselves at that level. But we want to do it in a way and on terms that are the least threatening and the best for the stockholders in total. And so we don't feel a particular rush to have to do that. We have access to capital, continual access to capital. We got a base of hundreds of loyal retail investors, which have been awesome. Revenue's is good. Let me say it this way: we don't have to raise a lot of money to grow this business. We have customers that will pay us. Okay, so what we should do is we should do that, grow this business, and that's what we're doing. And so we think the uplist will naturally occur. It'll occur on terms that everyone can say, yeah, I love it, right? As opposed to the fear that often goes when you move from this level to the next. We'd like to skip that, and we'd like to reward our shareholders for being long-term holders, and that's our focus. So that's what we're aiming to do. How's that?
Good answer. Dennis Calvert, the CEO of BioLargo, BLGO. Dennis, a pleasure as always to talk, and we'll be in touch, and good luck, and thanks for coming on All Access today.
Go BioLargo.
All righty. All right, guys, before I wrap it up here, I do want to plug one more thing that I haven't plugged yet. If you've been following Benzinga this week, you know that our Cannabis Capital Conference just wrapped up last night, which means the next event on the Benzinga calendar is officially the FinTwit Summit in Vegas in May. It's 3 weeks from today. Right? May 13th. That's 3 weeks from today, I think. Right? If my math checks out. It's going to be awesome. I plan on being there. It's a Friday and Saturday at the Aria Resort and Casino. We're talking 2 full days of trading, action, education in your face. Think of it like Neo in the Matrix, except you're Neo going into the Matrix. We're going to open your eyes. Okay? Let's scroll down and look at some of the speakers that are going to be there. People that you know and love: Christian Fromhertz, Chris Capri, Nick Shaheen, Ross Haber, Jonah Lupton, Kathy Donnelly, I love her, Jake Wujastik, Brian Shannon. I mean, just some amazing speakers here that are going to go through their strategies and really give you some basically one-on-one training. So if you want to buy your ticket and you haven't already, use the link and the code on the screen. BZUMP YouTube 20, BZ YouTube 20 gets you 20% off your ticket. The link is in the description. Here, I'll put it in. No, actually, I'm not going to put it in the chat because it's in the description and it's on the screen. So check it out. It's going to be amazingly fun. If the videos that you've seen from Miami are any indication, we do conferences and we make them fun, and it's going to be fun and amazingly educational. So check it out. Before we go, once again, want to thank the sponsor for All Access, which is Ticker, TIICKER. Get connected to the brands you love. Get rewarded with perks just for owning stock. It's that simple.
What is Ticker? That's right, Ticker with 2 I's, just like you. Because it's for you, for investing, for stock perks, for connecting you to public companies who reward you as a shareholder, as a brand lover. That's why people can't stop tickering. Ticker, where investors discover shareholder perks and consumers become investors in the brands they love. Ticker. Start tickering today.
All right, check out the link on the screen, TIICKER.com/Benzinga. Register for your account, connect your brokerage, and receive a $20 Amazon gift card once your account has been connected for 30 days. Check it out. And on that note, I am wrapping up this show for today. Thank you to all of our guests. Thanks to Marc Hazout from Susglobal, John Yozamp from XPON 360, John Keeler from BlueStar, and Dennis Calvert from BioLargo. I'm going to take like a 45-minute break. And guess what? You'll see me again on Benzinga Live because I'm the only person here today. Everybody else is recovering, I think, from the 3-day cannabis extravaganza we just put on in Miami. And so I am your host. I am your captain. And I will see you guys. I won't be alone. I'll have some friends join me. But I'll see you guys on Benzinga Live in 45 minutes. So smash that like button. Thanks for watching All Access. And good luck with the rest of your day. Catch you guys in a few minutes there.